Callum Brown for 74XX back with another arcade PCB repair. Today I've got a Space Invaders board that I bought from eBay and I haven't even opened the box yet, and I thought we could troubleshoot it together. Let's get started. So we have here a Space Invaders board I bought from eBay. I honestly can't remember if it said it was not working or untested, but it looked complete and it was for a pretty good price, so I decided to go for it. Let's start by opening the box and see what we have inside. Alright, so we got a used Amazon box, pretty common I guess. Looks like it had a little bit of trouble during shipping. The bottom looks like maybe it was retaped by eBay themselves. Anyway, should be fine. Okay, we've got the brackets, nice. That's the motherboard. And that's the sound PCB or game PCB, whatever they call it. And this slots in like this, making kind of an annoying L-shaped system, but I've got a solution for that for testing at least. So interestingly, Space Invaders was made by two companies at the same time. Most of the time when you see the iconic cabinet or the sit-down version, it would be the Midway version, but there also existed the Cabaret or Trimline Taito version. So I'm wearing my Midway Mortal Kombat shirt in honor of them, and behind me I've got Space Invaders DX, which was a 90s version of Space Invaders that Taito put out. There we go, we've got a repaired by whoever SN is in 1980, so this only made it a few years out before it needed a repair. I think it was this chip over here that was repaired because it's in a socket, 74160. Now, taking a look at the motherboard, I can see a problem we're going to have to take a look at. So I can see this really nasty scrape. Look how far it goes here. All the way through one of the RAM chips, all the way over here. Crazy. So that is kind of a massive scrape across the bottom. Although it doesn't look that deep, it's possible none of those traces are cut at all. But let's get it set up for a test and work from there. Space Invaders outputs a composite video signal, like the type that you would plug into your AV input on your monitor, which is atypical compared to most arcade games, especially from the 80s onwards, that would use an RGB signal. But of course, Space Invaders is black and white. So I do have this lovely JAMA adapter from PCB Junkie. He's pretty local to me. He makes amazing stuff. And he's gone as far as actually putting on a little processor here that will add color to this board. So we get to see something more similar to what you would see in the arcade with a color gel overlay that they used to have on the black and white monitor. Okay, now I'm going to plug the daughter board back on top and plug in the JAMA adapter and check the 5-volt line and the 12-volt line and the negative 5-volt line to see if any of them are shorted to ground. This is actually very important because these boards have tandem capacitors on board, and when they fail short your power lines and you got big trouble. So let's do that first. One more thing to note is that this daughter board is the upright version, so it only has two sets of connectors. If you have the cocktail version, which would need to have two sets of controls, one on either side, there'd be another connector in here. So you can use the cocktail daughter board on an upright, but you can't use the upright board on a cocktail. All right, so I've got this turned around so I can show you here. JAMA adapter goes on, put our daughter board back in, and then our power cable goes towards the left here. It's not quite enough pins, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Similarly, the control pins go to the left. There'll be one extra on the right. It's not needed. And I'm going to check between ground and the 3 power rails to see if any of them are shorted. 40 ohms, that's fine. 5K, that's fine. And 120 ohms, that's fine. So that's good. No shorts. Okay, we're ready to give it our first try. Nothing. Time to take a look at the schematics. Here are the schematics for Space Invaders motherboard. I'm not too concerned about the daughter board quite yet, but you do have to have it connected in order to have a bunch of functions operate, so I'll have to leave it connected for now. This is a very strange schematic in my opinion. It has the CPU way over here, has all the ROMs way back here on the left side, but we're gonna start where we always do, which is timing. So if we go up to the top left here, we're going to see the crystal. A7 is an inverter, so this creates the clock signal. Goes through this 9310. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but we do get different clock signals out of it. It looks like it probably is some kind of a divider. So we should check to see if we are getting that signal looking nice coming out of A7 number 4. Okay, so the board is turned on, and then I'm looking for A7 pin 4 right there. And I'm not sure if we're actually getting, nope. Ooh. Well, I could smell something weird. Now that I look, this chip in a socket is in backwards, so that's getting toasty hot. Let's fix that first of all. All right, that's coming out. That is a 74-160 that was in backwards. I'm going to test this before we go further to see if that's okay. Load up XG Pro and we'll do device logic test and type in 74-160 test. Okay, well that chip is fried, so we're gonna have to find a replacement for that. So I found my spare parts stash. The first one is missing that chip, but it's got a socket. The second one is also missing that chip, and it's also socketed, so this must have been a high failure part. But the third board I found does have it. It's the original 9310, so I'll remove it and test it and see if it's still good for us to use today. All right, let's test this one out here. I don't know if this will work because it's not actually a 74-160, but rather a 9310, but let's find out. Oh, well, seems to test normal, so let's use this one. I'm going to use my little straightener tool here to straighten up the legs a bit on that. Nice little unit you can get. I think they come from Japan. Put that in there. We'll go. Did. Okay. All right, with that chip in, let's give it another go. Ooh, black screen. That's good. That means we have a sync signal. The OSSC is showing 15.6 kilohertz, so that should mean that the clock chain is now working. Let's take a peek back at the schematics again. All right, so from here, our pin 14 goes down to this LS74 here. So that should divide the signal in half, basically. So B5, pin 5, 4, 5. All right, that's fine too. So it really seems to me that the clock signals are okay on this board now that we've replaced that chip. So I decided I wanted to take a look from the video output and see what's going on there. So go down to the right side of the schematics here. We'll see the video connector down here. Comes off of pin 18 of the board, and if we follow it back all the way here, at this junction is where it gets combined with the video data from C4 and the sync data from down here. So if we follow the sync data back, that comes from this this kind of mess right here. That generates our 15.6 kilohertz signal, but we know that's all fine because we got a sync signal on the video output. So the next thing I want to check is this 166 at C4 and see if there's any data on any of these inputs here. So C4 is right here. Pin 13 is the output. We can see there's no signal on there. So I'm going to check the inputs. Inputs are 2 to 5 and then 10, 11, 12, 14. So let's just check 2 to 5 here. So pin 2, nothing, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's no inputs at all on the video chip. So no inputs at all on this chip, so we're gonna get nothing besides a black screen. So backing out, we can see that the video data comes from the bank of RAM. That's all this RAM down here. So the video is stored directly in this RAM and goes right to that output. So next thing we need to do is check to see if each of these video chips is getting data. So let's zoom in on number 1 here. H8 is this one right here. Well, we have minus 5 volts on pin 1. We do. Plus 5 volts on pin 11. We do. Plus 12 volts on pin 18. Oh, no, we do not. So without 12 volts, the RAM chips are not going to run, but why don't we have 12 volts? This is very confusing. In fact, I can see on my adapter here that the LED is still lit up for 12 volts. Oh. Well, look at that. That's a 12 volt line, and that bit the dust completely there. So I'm going to have to clean this up, jump a wire on my adapter here, and figure out what the heck went wrong. So that's the risk you run if you don't have fuses on your power rails. Luckily, the trace on the bottom of my JAMA adapter burned up before it ruined the power supply, but now I got to figure out why that happened at all. All right, I'm going to check continuity between ground and 12 volts and see if anything changed. Yeah, it did. 0.3. That's a short. Next, I want to see if the short is on the main board or the daughter board. So pull off the daughter board here. And I will disconnect from the main motherboard. So the connection for the power cable is still through here, so let's check again. Okay, now I'm seeing 3 mega ohm, so it doesn't seem to be through there. Let's disconnect daughter board completely. Check yet again. Yeah, still shorted. So I'm going to tell you right now, I almost guarantee you it's going to be one of these tantalums. So we got this blue guy down here, we got one over here, 0.2 ohms, and this one down here, 0.3 ohms. So both of these blue ones are showing up as shorted. I'm going to replace them both because there's no point in keeping these time bombs on here anyway. Alright, let's see if this one is the culprit here. Be a little bit difficult to get it in there. Yep. That's it. Causing our trouble. Okay, that one is not shorted, but there's no way I'm putting it back in. So I'm going to replace both of those with equivalent electrolytic capacitors. There's no need to use tantalums on this board. Got my 2225s here. Let's get them situated. Okay, now that we're reassembled, let's take a look, make sure the fault is cleared. Yes, check the actual resistance. Alright, so it's up at like 1.7K. I don't think I was reading that high when I started, so that's something to remember. So obviously going forward, I'm just going to make it a policy of mine to replace those tantalum capacitors. They obviously can't be trusted. I've repaired my test adapter, just ran a nice thick wire for the trace that broke on the 12 volt line. We should be back in business. Alright, hopefully with the 12 volt line connected to that RAM, we should have some kind of a video signal now. Oh, we do. Okay, and we can see that the color overlay is working. Alright, so this is kind of expected. We're gonna go take a look at the manual for a minute, which explains some of this weird stuff. So we're looking at the standardized test procedure for Midway's processor boards. So the motherboard we're working on can support many games on the daughter board, so they came up with this guide to help you with the motherboard at least. So, bad board. Picture, we do have a picture. Bad picture. Yes. Remove PROM H. Alright, let's do that. Okay. Vertical lines, no. This is not vertical lines, it is garbage. Okay, so it says go to case B3, so let's take a look at that. This says when the motherboard gives a bad picture, the first step would be to remove PROM H from its socket. When PROM H is removed, the screen should normally display good vertical lines. So it looks like unbroken pairs with a thin and a thick one. Based on this verbiage here, I think we're talking type 1 in the form of dots scattered and or uniformly distributed across the screen. Problem of this type, first thing to check would be the RAM adds addresses on all RAMs. Mentioned earlier, it is generally sufficient to check all pins on H8, G8, H15, and G15. I'm also going to remove all the PROMs. It did say to do that, so I will take them all out. I'm going to check all these address lines, AD1 up to AD12, so 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, etc. Okay, so H8, number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that looks bad right there. Let's keep going. 9, bad. 10, bad. 11, 12, 13, good. Okay, so it's just these first few. 8, completely silent. 9, 10. Okay, so we have some bad signals. We got something to work on. That's good. We know our issue seems to be AD 1, 2, and 3, which on those pins 8, 9, and 10. So we see where those come from. We see AD 0 on F4, but we see AD 1, 2, 3, and 4 on chip F5. So let's check all those inputs and outputs. So for example, 2 and 3 should go to number 4. F5, 2, so it's a nice looking input. 3 is high, and number 4 is a nice looking output. So how come that's there, but it's not over here? Do you remember why? I bet I know. Bet I know exactly why. So I think we're going back to the start of the video where I showed you that big gash across the bottom. Pretty sure we're gonna find that those signals are interrupted by that scratch, and we're gonna have to fix them. So let's just go do that right now. So the gash goes from like here all the way up to here. And I think kind of all the ones along here don't look too bad, so I'm gonna buzz them out really quickly and see if any of them don't go across. I really think the issue is gonna be here in the RAM, so bear with me while I check all these ones. I just wanted to point out one break I did find. So see these ones in here. So all of these ones are fine. They just got through the mask. So I'll probably cover these up with epoxy, but none of these lines broke. Going up a little bit further, it looks like this one right here did. So definitely this one and this one are completely disconnected. So I'm gonna run jumpers between those two for sure. All right, so everything is patched up now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 repairs from that big gouge. But I didn't put any epoxy on the repairs under the RAM in case I have to remove this RAM after in case it doesn't work. All right, it's a new day. I got a haircut. I put the same shirt back on so I wouldn't confuse anybody. But I think all those traces are now patched up when we're ready to turn on the board again and see what effect we've had. Turn on the board. All right, okay, this time we have some straight lines. This still isn't quite right because we should have like skinny lines and then thick lines. And I'm only seeing thick lines here, but this is a lot better. Oh, look at that. It just popped into essentially the correct pattern for a second there, disappeared again. Will it go back? Okay, there it is. That's actually the correct pattern there. So with the good RAM screen, the manual then tells you to put the ROMs back in and go on from there. I'm going to do something a little bit different, which is to use the test ROM, which I've used many times before. It's a great help. Not just for this, for RAM, but also for sounds later on. So let's get that out. So I got this here. It says SI 1.3. This ROM will go in position H. Other ROMs are not required. Okay, so what I want to see on this is lines going back and forth as it shifts data in and out. Okay, I am seeing that, although there's gaps in between, which there should not be. And then it's telling me that RAMs A, D, and G are bad. This actually tells us quite a bit about the state of the board. It's telling us that some of the RAMs are bad, but it was able to actually run that test ROM, so that means the CPU is fine, the address buffers are fine, the address decoding is probably fine, and we need to solve these 3 bad RAMs before we can continue, however. So the RAMs are numbered 1 to 8, and then A to H down here. So A, D, and G would be A, D, and G not working. Now those are evenly spaced, so it could be some kind of address issue or decoding issue. But let's check the inputs and outputs to those RAMs. So on each RAM chip, we can see that there's an input on pin 6 and an output on pin 7, and those get switched with the bank beside it. A would be this one here, so let's check pin 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Signal looks fine to me, and 7. Signal looks fine to me. Now let's check D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then G. 6, and then 7. So I would say the signals look fine there. So if it's not working, it could be something after it. That's not very likely. So I think that the chips could actually be bad. So the easiest case here would be to grab a new chip. These are MM5280 that are equivalent. The ones on the board are mostly Intel P2107. There's one Intel D2107. But they are all equivalent. So what I'm going to do is the thing I've talked about before, which is piggybacking. So I'm going to take my new RAM chip and simply place it over top with enough friction so I know all the pins are touching on each side. And let's run the test again, see if we get a different result. Okay, that one now only says that D and G are bad, so let's do that test 2 more times. All right, I'm gonna move it over to D right here. Yep, now just A and G are bad, so let's verify the last one, of course. G. Okay, and then G is resolved. So it's really telling me that those 3 RAM chips are bad, so let's go ahead and remove them. Alright, I have my Neolock Inquisitor with the 9060 DRAM blade, which is compatible with this type. So let's put the original one in. I just took off the board. Give that a test. Not showing completely bad. Let's go for the new one. A little faster too. All good. All right, so we know that this old chip is bad, so I will remove the other 2 as well. Okay, with those 3 new RAMs in, let's give it another test. All right, the lines look good this time. All right, and we're into the test. Oh, my screen is upside down. Let's flip that around. Oops. Rotate that around. There we go. I'm also going to turn off the color option just to make this a little easier to read. That's a little jumper setting on the JAMA adapter from PCB Junkie. Lines look good. RAM okay. Oh, it's giving me the CRCs, but they're empty, so they'll be the same. And then H is just the test ROM itself. I can press buttons, and you can see the little stars moving on the ports. So that's left and right. Fire. Coin. Start. So those are all good. That's great. This time, let's listen through all the sound effects. See if any of them sound off. Okay, so I think there's 2 sounds that have trouble. One of them is the missile sound, which is sounding very weak. and the other one is the one labeled UFOH. I'm going to go over to MAME to show you what that should sound like. Next, we'll put the ROMs back in and see if the game plays. We'll look at the sound issues a little bit later. Remove the test ROM. Now, each of the ROMs actually has the letter on it of where it goes. So you'll see that one says M739H. So that goes in spot H right there. I will say that the legs on these ROMs all look pretty good. They're not terribly corroded or anything, so I have a good feeling that these will probably work just fine. Of course, we could have, you know, cuts to the ROMs from all that, the big scrape on the bottom, but we shall see. Turning it back on. And there we have Space Invaders. Let's turn the sound up a little here, and let's see what our sounds sound like. Pretty good. I do think there is a problem with the missile sound. It should really peter out after a moment. It's more of a pew sound. There's the UFO sound. It's sounding good. Got him. This is the daughterboard PCB where all the sound is. And essentially on these two 174s at E4 and E5, data can come in, be latched in, and that turns on one of the sounds. To work on the soundboard, I'm going to use this little L-shape adapter that I made a while ago so I can put the daughterboard flat and you will be able to see on camera a little better what I'm poking at anyway. And this goes in here. That goes in here. It's a tight fit, but it works. All right, so I found an extension here to make this power cable longer, and I found some foam here to stick underneath to make sure that it's still working, of course, with this setup. Indeed it is. Okay, I'm gonna put the test ROM back in. So everything is working with my little adapter, so we can get back to it now. So let's look at that missing sound, which is labeled UFOH. So that's going to be Invader Hit right here. There are some mislabeled things. I think maybe Invader Hit is actually confused with Saucer Hit. But anyway, I know it's this one because the test ROM plays them in order, the sounds. So the 10th sound is missing, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our first port of call is to see if this 174 pin 12 has the signal on it at the time that it is supposed to play the sound. There it is. Here, so same thing, we're going to go check the other side to make sure that the 7417 is in fact working as a buffer. So we'll check pin 12 of F5 in exactly the same way. Yep. All right, so we know that this is working, so now we have to take a look. We've got two op amps. We have the M4, which is shared with another sound that is the missile sound. And we also have M5, which is all four of them are just for this one, so that would be a prime candidate to be the problem. If we look back here, we see that M5 is kind of an island. It's disconnected except for this one line that comes from M4 here. So I'm definitely inclined to try changing M4 to see if that has any effect. No change. Okay, so piggybacking didn't seem to do anything for either of these chips. I'm going to socket both of them, and then we can do some better testing. So believe it or not, Texas Instruments still makes these chips, LM3900, brand new. So they're only a couple bucks on, you know, DigiKey or Mouser or whatever. I'm gonna put that in there. I guess I'll put the original one back in M5 so we can compare. See if M4 was the problem before I just changed both of them. Okay, so I have a new one in M4 and I have the old one back in M5. I guess since the missile sound was going on too long and the UFO hit was missing, I guess there is a good chance that M4 was the problem. Let's find out. This takes a long time. Okay, there you go. That had the right drop off. Come on, UFO hit. Take us home. We're all very tired. Alright, okay, board is returned to its original configuration. Got the game ROM back in there. Board back up without my L adapter. We are ready for hopefully the final test. You know what? Let's do it in color. Nice. Okay, coin up. Press start. Okay, missile sounds perfect now. Wait for the UFO to come across just to hear that lovely sound. Oh, there it goes. Sounds good. Oh, that's too slow. Okay, that's it. We did it. All right, so let's go over what we did. First, we had a chip that was in backwards and was smoking and was broken. So we fixed that and we got back our clock chain. That got our sync back. The next thing we did was repair all those cut traces on the bottom. And those became apparent as we realized some inputs to the RAM were floating. Next, we used the test ROM and found that 3 RAMs were bad, and I replaced those, put them in sockets. Finally, on the daughter board, we found that the missile sound was not dropping off in volume as it should, and we found that the UFO hit sound was not triggering at all. And checking the schematics, we found that they shared an op amp, which was at M4. We replaced that, and all the sounds came back, and the board is now 100% working. So if I was keeping this board, the last thing I would do is put the brackets on each side to keep the L shape nice and supported. However, I'm going to be packing this away and bringing it with me with some other PCBs for sale to Ontario PinFest, which is happening next week, May 31st and June 1st, 2025 in Stayner, Ontario, somewhat near Collingwood. So if you're in the area, come check it out. If you're going to be at Ontario PinFest, come say hi if you're a fan of the videos or if you want to buy this Space Invaders board. And I hope to be making a nice video about Ontario PinFest. It's grown over the past couple of years. It's a really fabulous show and the only one of its kind in Ontario. So until next time.